Now, how is everybody doing? Welcome to Time with Tanya. I'm glad I get the chance to see you again and hoping your day was amazing. And I want to say thank you. Thank you to those of you that are watching this episode. You're sharing some comments. I appreciate it. And I got a statement from someone letting me know I might need to check my facts. Here's the thing I shared last week that the second marriage ends with 80% chance of failure. Well, let me explain why that takes place. But first, let me walk into the facts. The fact is, in the United States of America, the first marriage typically ends in divorce 50% of the time. The second marriage typically ends 67% of the time, and the third marriage ends typically 74% of the time. Now, here's why I said 80. I am in my second marriage, and my husband, well, I'm his third wife. I was told that based off of that dynamic, we had an 80% chance of failure. So those numbers kind of stuck in my head. But here's the thing I want you to know there is a difference between truth and facts. Yes, those are the facts. But the truth is, you can make adjustments in how you live your life. The facts are just those statements of what takes place in that moment. Statistics, it's great to have, but it's a data point. Do not make lifelong decisions off of data points, especially if them data points do not support who you are at the core of your being. See, as a Black woman in America, there's a whole lot of data points that are facts. It is a fact that Black women make up 73% of the workforce, but they are also 23% of the individuals below the poverty line. How is it that that many Black women are in the workforce and still can't make an income that can support them above the poverty line, which in the US, the middle class income rate is about 67,000 a year. So they are making less than 67,000 a year and having to take care of 3 or 4 children. The more people you have in your household, the lower that index is. Because according to the Department of Health and Human Services in the United States, the poverty threshold in 2023 for a family of four is considered to be $30,000 or less a year. Think about that. With all those women working, they are still stuck with 30,000 or less a year in the United States of America. Now, here's the thing I understand about being in the element below the poverty line. To this day, I still can't tell you how my grandmother was able to do it because now, on this side, looking back, I recognize that she was below the poverty line. But the truth was, I was a child that did not go through a phase where I had to be stuck in an environment where it looked like the poverty line was my dictator. I didn't know that we were poor. My grandmother fed, it seemed to me, the neighborhood. If you are an individual below the poverty line, because facts say you should not be able to give food to others and help them when they are struggling, facts say that you should only look out for what your family's needs are because you don't have enough to give anywhere else. But here's the thing that I love, love, love. My grandmother taught me that as a child of the king, whatever you need, he is the truth, and that truth will make provision. So I was raised to sit under truth, not under fact. Now, let me also say this. As an electrical engineer, my natural logical analytical mind loves, loves, loves the facts. It gives me some sort of nerdy joy to see the facts, to walk through some of the statistics. But I recognize being a Black woman in America, I need to also sit in truth. When you sit in truth, it encourages you to do things a little bit different than what everybody else says. Because as an engineer, Black engineers only make up 3% of the population. Black female engineers only make up 1.6 percentage of that. So let's break that number down. If you're making it really simple, y'all, not trying to complicate anything, if there are 100 people Three of those people will be Black. Out of those three people, one will be a Black female. Ta-da! Yes, I was in an environment where it was always constantly talked about go into science, engineering, to technology. It is a beautiful thing. But those courses and those elements in the environment that you typically walk in is not very receptive. You see, I had to fight just to prove that I was enough. The truth is what helped me through the process because here's something else about being a Black female engineer. I'm also dyslexic. Hmm. Being dyslexic at that point makes my percentage much smaller. So, on top of looking at 100 people, I'm the one. But out of that one, I am a third of what that should be. I'm not even a full person in this scenario. Even though when you take a look at society now, there's a whole lot of individuals, like 40% of those that are in entrepreneurship, making money, starting corporations. It's okay to be dyslexic now because you've got so many people that have made it look great and done some amazing things with it. But when I was diagnosed, it was still considered a learning disability that did not support you or those around you. So to decide when I wanted to be an electrical engineer, that was not the thing. I was constantly told the fact is you're Black and a woman. Numbers and all the science is not something that would suit you well or anything that you would function under. Choose something else. Do something different. Oh, y'all, let me tell you, when people choose to count you out, that is when you need to dig deep. Knowing who you are at the core of your being sits you in the middle of truth. So when facts show up, you are able to still function. I've sat in truth in most of my journey. I've sat in truth in most of my life. I have sat in truth to get me through the struggles, both emotionally, physically, personally, otherwise, all the things. I want to encourage you. Recognize facts are there. They are supportive as a touch point, but live your life in truth. When you live your life in truth, you become a beacon, not just for you, but for those around you. And I want to also take this time to say thank you to those of you that have let me know that my story has encouraged you. Some of you have heard me share in the Red Alert Diaries podcast my dyslexic, nerdy nature. But here's another part about that. Being able to walk through that journey gave me a certain strength that if I can walk through that, I can walk through others. It is a truth that you believe in that will support you and sustain you. So live your life based off of a truth that is sustaining. A lot of you know, and I've shared in the last episode, that my basic foundation for truth resides in who Jesus is. Because when I let Jesus join me on the journey, he assured me that I am fearfully and wonderfully made. You see, growing up, I'm that little girl that wanted to help everybody out, do all the things. But y'all, it was not working that well. I kept being pushed aside and told, don't do this, don't do that, don't. Do you realize how many negative statements we get on a regular basis? Here's another fact. There's a fact that you will hear a negative thought about 24 times in a day. What do you do with that information? Because out of that element, you'll only hear somebody tell you maybe 5 times out of a day that you did well, that you are doing good. That encouragement to keep pressing through. That's not something that we often hear. That's not something that we often receive. So you will have to make a decision of you will let facts dictate how you function, or you will decide to sit in truth. And I went to the Creator to tell me that I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And joining Jesus on the journey gave me a strength that I never knew I had, a power that I didn't recognize I possessed, and it encouraged me to encourage others along the way. When Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the light. Oh, I took that to heart. Because if he's the way and he told me I am fearfully and wonderfully made, and then on top of all of that, y'all, here's the thing that I needed. One of the reasons why my second marriage has lasted longer than my first marriage is because I believe truth. God said that I'm a masterpiece. My first marriage left me feeling like I was not. In the aftermath of that divorce, I was broke and broken. I did not understand Tanya anymore. I didn't have the encouragement because on top of already receiving negative comments on a regular basis, when you are devastated in your soul over an experience that you thought would be lasting, a relationship that you thought would keep you encouraged, only to be left on the wayside, it adds to the negativity. So my internal chatter was giving me all kinds of chaos. But it was in that moment also that I had enough wherewithal to do what my grandmother said. Go to the basic instruction book before leaving Earth. And it was there that I read that God said, I am a masterpiece. If the creator of the universe decided that I'm a masterpiece, then who was I to tell or believe otherwise? So don't tell yourself lies. Don't tell yourself chaos. Let the truth of who you are. You are a unique individual. There is no one else on the planet just like you. And the only reason this is part of my basic belief, which I sit in as truth, the only reason we are born is because we are someone's answered prayer. You, yes, you were born with a strategy in your soul that the world needs. Because if you were not ready for this generation, you would have been born in another one. I want you to know that all the pieces of you, your flaws and all, make you the best person for someone looking for that insight. You walk through experiences that they need. Start sharing that. Start giving that and start recognizing how amazing you are. We don't often get told enough. So if you don't get told enough, like I didn't get told enough for a while, here's the thing that I did, and it may encourage you as well. I decided to use all the little sticky notes. I put one little message about Tanya. Tanya, you're amazing. That was one sticky note. Tanya, I love your smile. That was another sticky note. Tanya, I love your eyes. That was another sticky note. And let me tell you why I used those last two, because here's the thing. In the aftermath of my divorce, when someone that you thought that you would share your life with discards you, you start overanalyzing elements of who you are. So I was wondering, am I good enough? What is it about me that he didn't like? What is it about me he doesn't appreciate it? What is it about me that is not lovable enough for you to choose that this relationship is not going to work and not fight with me in the battle to make it work? Going through that brought up old stuff. Now, when I shared last week that your past pastures don't matter, this is why I said that. Because in my past, I was not told how wonderful I was or beautiful I was from everybody. Now, granted, my grandmother did, my godmother, my mom, all those people. Your family sort of feed you that. But outside, when you look at what the images of the world says, I was not the Coke bottle supermodel. Mm-mm. So that being the definition of what makes up beauty, I didn't fit it. So if I didn't fit that, and then I got married and I no longer fit the elements of what I thought he wanted, it started having me question myself. So I had to look Tanya in the face. And y'all, it took me 3 years to stop crying, to tell me, I love your smile. I love your eyes. I love your nose. I love your hair. Even though now I've cut it. I cut my hair because I needed to figure me out. But I had to learn to love all of me, all the pieces of me, every element about my being. I had to first love, which is why I often share. When you, when you develop a deeper relationship with yourself, then you can expand that relationship to others. And having a being greater than yourself support you on the journey will encourage you to do better so that you can be better and have better. I had to tell Tanya I loved her because for a long time there was no one else. There's a 7-year gap between my first marriage and my second marriage. And in that time, I had to encourage me. In that time, I also dated me. In that time, I learned to love me. And I sat in the truth of who God says that I am. I sat in the truth of what my element and my being needed then. Sit in your truth. Because the truth, my grandmother would often say, the truth just is. Don't let facts run your world. Because if I had allowed facts to run my world, this dyslexic electrical engineer, Black female, with a less than 1% chance of being in my field, wouldn't even be present. Because what I was told was that the only thing that I was good for was laying on my back and having babies. Really? Nothing about how magnificent and marvelous my natural, logical, analytical mind is. Don't let someone put inside of your soul something that does not support you. Let you be your first element of fertile ground so that when time comes, like I said last week, when some are planting, some provide seed and some water, you distinguish facts from truth and function in truth. And so for today, if you don't remember anything else I've shared, here's the one thing I want you to know. You are amazing. And I want to say thank you for letting me join you on the journey. In the meantime, this is Tanya E. Hood walking in my purpose. And I want you to do the same. See you all next time.